this topic, that is comprehensive and progressive agreement, comprehensive and progressive agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, or Cptpp, comprehensive and progressive agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership. It's a very important current affair, and it was in news throughout the 2017, and it finally became an agreement, or a finally in March 8, 2018, this partnership agreement have signed by all the member countries, and because of that it is very important for you. Now, regarding its predecessor, that is Trans-Pacific Partnership, already UPSC have asked a question in 2016 prelims. Now just have an idea that, so first we will start with this Trans-Pacific Partnership. Just have an idea. This Trans-Pacific Partnership, which is the predecessor of this comprehensive and progressive agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership. So TPP was a mega regional trade agreement. TPP was a mega regional trade agreement. From the term itself you can understand that, which earlier, means in the initial stage, was consisting of 12 member countries, mainly from the Pacific Rim countries. That's why it is called as Trans-Pacific. So in the Pacific Rim countries, 12 countries have signed this deal in 2016, and US was the major initiator of this deal, of this mega regional trade agreement. And this Trans-Pacific Partnership, the 12 countries constitute nearly 40% of global economy, or 40% of global GDP, and this could have been made, and it has set a high standard in relation to trade agreement, that it was having more than WTO provisions. Okay, so including many, not only trade in goods and services, not only in investment, it has covered almost all areas, including labor standards as well as intellectual property rights, which were more stringent and which was higher standard than WTO, which every country, including India, developing country, have feared about, because India and other developing countries feared that this TPP template standard will be used in the future WTO negotiations. But what happened was that the Donald Trump, who became the US president, okay, who considered this deal as not good for the US economy, and in the initial stage itself, once he became the US president, have withdrawn from this Trans-Pacific Partnership. So everybody thought that this Trans-Pacific Partnership agreement, or this mega regional trade agreement, to be a failure, or that since the major country of this partnership agreement withdrawn from this agreement, everybody thought that this there will be no further movement of this trade agreement. But Japan, the second largest economy of this trade agreement, went further, brought all the remaining countries, and finally, without US, this trade agreement with a rechristened name, with a new name, that is Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for TPP, was finally signed in the Chilean capital of San Diego in March 8, 2018. So that's the background regarding, and try to understand that. So presently, so if a UPSC asks a question, you need to have an idea that it's still all the members are there except US. 11 members are there. So there were initially under TPP there were 12 members. Now there are 11 members. So remaining members are continuing. But what happened is that the earlier under TPP, the trading partners, or these 12 countries were constituting nearly 40% of global GDP, but without US it is constituting only 13.5% of GDP. So impact is lesser, but the provisions under this trade agreement, most of the parent pact, that is TPP, most of the major provisions were retained, except nearly 22 of the TPP provisions were suspended. except this suspended 22 TPP provisions were suspended, remaining all the provisions of TPP were maintained in the new comprehensive and progressive agreement on TPP for TPP partnership. Okay, so just have an idea. This it was finally signed by the 11 member countries in the Chilean capital of San Diego, and all the provisions of the TPP were maintained except 22 TPP provisions were suspended. And presently this 11 member countries constitute 13.5% of global GDP or global economy. And what this agreement says that once 6 member out of the 11 ratify this agreement, so if 6 out of 11 members ratify this agreement, 60 days after this 6 of the 11 members ratify, 60 days after this 6 out of the 11 member ratify this trade agreement, it will come into force. So the UPSC will ask such type of statement. Okay, so 60 days after 6 of the 11 members ratify this agreement, this new trade agreement, that is Cptpp, will come into force. Okay, so that you please note down. Then UPSC can ask this question also: which of the following are the members of this Cptpp trade agreement? So for that, what my suggestion is that to study the members of any international organization, you need to be familiar with the map. So you take your map and just we'll learn this in a simple manner. Okay, I told you this only Pacific Rim countries are members of this this trade partnership. So look into the North America. So we are divided the countries like in North America. Now US is not there. So from North America, Canada and Mexico is there. In the Latin America, only Peru and Chile is there. Be very clear. In the Latin America, Peru and Chile is there. And from ASEAN, 4 members are there. From ASEAN, 4 members are there. That is Malaysia, Singapore, Vietnam and Brunei. All are ASEAN are Southeast Asian countries. And from East Asia, Japan is there. And from if you go to the south of the Pacific region, from there Australia and New Zealand is there. So these are the 11 member countries. So you can learn this way by knowing the 11 member countries, and just note down which are the prominent countries missing from this partnership. Already US have withdrawn. No China. So China is not there in this partnership. But from the East Asia, a very important country is missing. That is South Korea is not there. That's a very important point to be noted down. From East Asia, only Japan is there. No South Korea is there. Okay, so that important point you need to note down. So China is also not there. So if you from the ASEAN, see a smaller country like Brunei is there, but country like Indonesia is missing. So that also you keep note down. So if you note down that Indonesia and South Korea is missing from, or China is missing from it, if a UPSC asks a question on which of the following are or not members of this trade partnership agreement, it will become very easy for you. So important point is that when it will come into force, it will come into force 60 days after 6 of the 11 member country ratify this agreement. Then the 11 members are very important. So try to understand that it have retained all the TPP provisions except 22 of the TPP provisions except 22. Almost all the TPP provisions were retained, and try to understand that US is now not there in this new trade partnership agreement. These information is important for you to answer any question related with this Cptpp. Thank you.